I'm Terri Johnson, 63 years old, and after 32 years of dedicated service to Horizon Technologies, my career ended with public humiliation. My daughter-in-law, Emily, the new CEO, fired me in front of the entire executive team. "We don't want outdated people in the company," she announced coldly. As I packed my things, I smiled and simply said, "Good luck." Little did she know, my millionaire son was about to walk through that door. Before I continue this story, let me know where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button. Horizon Technologies wasn't just a workplace for me. It was practically my second home. I joined back in 1990 as an executive assistant to Thomas Warner, the visionary founder who started the company in his garage. Thomas saw potential in me that I didn't even see in myself. Under his mentorship, I worked my way up through the ranks, eventually becoming vice president of operations 15 years ago. During my time there, I spearheaded the international expansion into European markets, developed our award-winning customer service protocol, and helped navigate the company through 2 recessions without a single layoff. Our staff considered me the heart of Horizon, the keeper of our corporate culture. Thomas often said, "Terri doesn't just know where all the skeletons are buried. She helped build the foundation they're buried under." My personal life wasn't as successful as my professional one. I lost my husband Richard to pancreatic cancer 10 years ago. The grief was unbearable, but work became my salvation. My son Jason was my only family, and thankfully, he blossomed into an incredible man. Unlike me, Jason had an entrepreneurial spirit from the beginning. He started his first successful business in college, then built and sold 3 tech companies before he turned 35. By 40, he was a self-made millionaire with investments across multiple industries. Jason met Emily at a business conference in San Francisco 5 years ago. She was presenting on digital transformation strategies, and according to Jason, he was instantly captivated by her intelligence and drive. Their courtship was a whirlwind. Business trips that turned into romantic getaways, late-night strategy sessions that became dinner dates. They married after only 6 months. Initially, Emily and I had a warm relationship. She seemed genuinely interested in my career and often asked for advice. We enjoyed Sunday dinners together, and she even invited me on a girls' trip to wine country for my 60th birthday. I thought I'd hit the daughter-in-law jackpot. Everything changed when Thomas announced his retirement last year. The board launched a search for his replacement, looking at both internal candidates and outside talent. Emily had an impressive resume, having held executive positions at 2 of our competitors. Still, it came as a shock when she was announced as the new CEO of Horizon. Despite my private concerns about potential conflicts of interest, I publicly supported her. Jason was thrilled, and I wanted to be supportive of both of them. "This is going to be great, Mom," Jason assured me. "Emily has brilliant ideas for Horizon's future, and she values your institutional knowledge." If only I had recognized that smile on Emily's face for what it truly was. Not excitement for our shared future, but satisfaction at a perfectly executed first move in her larger game. The changes began subtly. Emily launched a company-wide modernization initiative her first week as CEO. On the surface, it sounded positive, updating systems, streamlining processes, embracing new technologies. But beneath the corporate speak, I sensed a different agenda emerging. Within a month, 3 senior directors, all in their late 50s, had been replaced by managers in their early 30s. Emily explained to the board that we needed fresh perspectives and digital natives to remain competitive. When Marjorie from accounting was let go after 27 years, Emily didn't even handle it personally. She sent her new 20-something HR director to do the deed. Company traditions started disappearing next. The annual service awards ceremony that recognized employee milestones, replaced with a Future Innovators event celebrating new hires. The mentorship program I'd established dismantled in favor of reverse mentoring, where junior staff taught senior employees about technology. During executive meetings, Emily began questioning my methods openly. That approach feels very 2010, Terri. We need to think about how things work today, she'd say with a tight smile. She started excluding me from strategic discussions, scheduling them when I had standing commitments she knew about. At first, I tried adapting. I enrolled in digital marketing courses, learned the new project management software, came in early, and stayed late. But nothing seemed to satisfy her. The comments became more pointed. This is why we need to evolve beyond old school thinking. Or, sometimes institutional memory holds us back from necessary change. The tension at work began affecting our family dynamic. Jason started traveling more frequently for his business ventures. Trips to Singapore, Berlin, Toronto that seemed to get extended repeatedly. When we did have family gatherings, Emily was noticeably cooler toward me, checking her phone throughout dinner, or finding reasons to leave early. One evening, I stopped by their house unexpectedly with some homemade soup when Jason was sick. From outside the home office, I overheard Emily on the phone. "I can't believe I still have to deal with her every day," she was saying. "She questions everything I do, like I'm still some intern. Just because she's been there forever doesn't mean she knows best." No, Jason doesn't see it. He thinks his mom is perfect. My heart sank. I left the soup on the porch and texted Jason that it was there. When I tried discussing the situation with my son, he was caught in an impossible position. "Mom, I'm sure it's just growing pains," he said. "Emily is under tremendous pressure from the board to deliver results quickly. Give her time to find her footing." Meanwhile, I started waking up at 3 in the morning, my mind racing with worry. For the first time in decades, I updated my resume. I reached out to former colleagues who had retired or moved to other companies seeking advice and possibly opportunities. I tried repeatedly to schedule a private meeting with Emily, hoping we could clear the air. She always had an excuse: investor calls, business trips, board preparations. After the 6th reschedule, I got the message. She had no interest in resolving our issues. Emily's strategy became increasingly clear. She was systematically isolating me from the company I had helped build. My key projects were reassigned to younger managers with vague explanations about fresh approaches, or redistributing institutional knowledge. My office, which had been next to the executive suite for 15 years, was suddenly needed for a new innovation lab. I was relocated to a small interior office near the supply room, away from the decision makers and the teams I supervised. The message was clear. I was being pushed to the margins. Communication began flowing around me rather than through me. I'd learn about major operational decisions that should have involved my department only after they'd been finalized. When I raised concerns, Emily would respond with, "Oh, we needed to move quickly on that one, and I know how busy you are with the transition." Perhaps most painful was watching Emily take credit for programs I had developed. The supplier diversity initiative I'd built from the ground up was suddenly her brainchild in press releases. The employee wellness program I'd championed for a decade was rebranded and presented as part of her fresh vision for the company. My confidence began to erode. I started second-guessing decisions I would have made easily a year earlier. When Emily introduced new productivity software without providing training for senior staff, I struggled publicly with features that the younger employees navigated effortlessly. Colleagues I'd worked alongside for years began avoiding me. Lunch invitations dwindled. Conversations stopped when I entered the break room. I became a corporate pariah. Everyone could see which way the wind was blowing, and no one wanted to be associated with the person on the CEO's bad side. My breaking point came when I discovered my name had been removed from the leadership committee for the annual client conference, an event I had literally created 15 years earlier and chaired every year since. During a Sunday dinner at Jason and Emily's house, I asked if I could speak with Emily privately after the meal. Jason looked concerned, but gave us space in the back garden. "Emily," I began carefully, "I'm trying to understand what's happening at work. I feel like I'm being sidelined from roles and responsibilities I've successfully handled for years." Her response was ice cold. "Business is business, Terri. Family is family. Don't confuse the two. But you're making decisions that affect my position without any discussion." I pressed. "These aren't minor changes." "I'm the CEO," she replied, checking her watch. "It's my job to make decisions about personnel and structure. The company needed updating, and that includes its leadership approach." Jason came out then, sensing tension. "Everything okay out here?" Emily switched on a smile. "Fine, honey. Just a little shop talk, which we should probably save for the office. Right, Terri." That night, as I drove home, tears streamed down my face for the first time in years. It wasn't just about the job anymore. It was about watching someone I had welcomed into my family systematically dismantle my professional legacy. The next morning, I received an email that wasn't meant for me. Emily's assistant had accidentally included me on a restructuring plan meant only for Emily and the new HR director. There it was in black and white, a list of employees targeted for transition out over the next quarter. Most were over 50. My name was at the top of the list, with notes about resistance to change and legacy mindset as justifications. What they were planning wasn't just cruel. It was textbook age discrimination disguised as performance issues. I forwarded the email to my personal account, then deleted it from my work system. I started documenting everything, Every meeting, every reassignment, every comment about age or experience. I wouldn't go quietly, but I would go with dignity. The quarterly executive board meeting was scheduled with all our major clients and board members in attendance. Despite being increasingly sidelined, I was still responsible for presenting the operations report, a comprehensive overview of production efficiency, quality metrics, and supply chain management. I had prepared meticulously. This presentation might well be my last opportunity to demonstrate my value to the company, and I wasn't going down without showcasing the results my department had achieved despite the turbulence. That morning, Emily was unusually friendly, stopping by my small office to chat. "Big day today. I'm looking forward to your presentation," she said, with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. When I entered the boardroom, something felt off. People avoided eye contact. Thomas Warner, who still attended quarterly meetings, as chairman emeritus, looked uncomfortable. Empty chairs had been left between me and the rest of the executive team, creating a visual separation I couldn't miss. I began my presentation professionally, highlighting the 12% increase in production efficiency my team had achieved and the new supplier agreements that would save the company millions. 3 slides in, Emily stood up. "Thank you, Terri. I think that's enough of that," she said, taking control of the presentation remote. "Before we continue with the agenda, I have an important announcement about our organizational structure." My heart began racing as I took my seat. "As you all know, Horizon Technologies is committed to innovation and forward thinking," Emily began. "Sometimes that requires difficult decisions about leadership." She clicked to a slide I had never seen before, an organizational chart with my position conspicuously absent. "Effective immediately, we're restructuring our operations division to better align with our digital transformation goals. Part of modernizing our approach means recognizing when certain leadership styles no longer serve our objectives." She turned to face me directly, though she was speaking to the room. "We don't want outdated people in the company who can't adapt to where we're headed. We need leadership that embraces change rather than clinging to how things have always been done." The room was deadly silent. I felt blood rushing to my face as 20 pairs of eyes turned toward me. Emily continued presenting fabricated data about efficiency issues in my department and resistance to digital adoption that had supposedly impacted our bottom line. Every chart, every metric was manipulated to create a false narrative of my failure. In that moment, I understood completely. This wasn't a termination. It was a public execution designed to destroy not just my position, but my reputation. My hands trembled slightly, but I kept my expression neutral. My mind flashed to Richard, my late husband, who always said, "Your dignity is the one thing no one can take from you. They can only convince you to surrender it." As Emily concluded her character assassination, she called over the security director. "Brad will escort you to collect your personal items, Terri. HR has your separation agreement ready for signature." I stood, slowly, straightened my jacket, and looked around the room at colleagues I had worked alongside for decades. People who had celebrated birthdays with me, attended my husband's funeral, sought my advice through professional and personal crises. Not one would meet my eyes. As Brad awkwardly gestured toward the door, I picked up my presentation folder calmly. 32 years, I said quietly. I helped build this company when we had 17 employees and one product. I've seen 5 recessions, 3 office moves, and dozens of executives come and go. I turned to Emily. I hope you know what you've inherited here. It's more fragile than you think. As I packed my family photos and achievement awards into a cardboard box under the watchful eye of security, Emily appeared in my doorway. The separation agreement includes 6 months severance, which is generous considering the circumstances, she said, holding out a folder. Standard confidentiality clauses apply, of course. I closed my box and smiled. Good luck, I said simply. Her expression faltered, slightly confused by my composure. That's when we both heard the commotion in the hallway. My son Jason's voice was unmistakable as he approached, and the color drained from Emily's face. Jason stood in the doorway, his expression transforming from confusion to cold fury as he took in the scene. Me with a cardboard box, the security guard hovering nearby, and Emily holding termination papers. What exactly is happening here? He asked, his voice dangerously quiet. Emily's demeanor shifted instantly. Jason, I thought you were in Singapore until next week. Clearly, he replied. Mom, are you being fired? Before I could answer, Emily jumped in. It's a strategic restructuring, honey. The board and I determined that the operations division needed new leadership aligned with our digital transformation goals. We're offering your mother a very generous separation package. Jason turned to the security guard. Brad, would you excuse us, please? It wasn't a request. Once alone, Jason closed the office door. I cut my trip short because I received some concerning calls from people here. People who care about this company and its values. Emily's professional smile faltered. Business decisions sometimes look harsh from the outside, but stop, Jason interrupted. I've spent the last 72 hours reviewing every executive decision you've made in the past 6 months. I've spoken with 15 current employees and 7 who were terminated. I've analyzed the performance data, the financial reports, and the employee demographics before and after your modernization initiative. He pulled out his phone and pulled up a chart. Average age of departed employees under your leadership, 57. Average age of their replacements, 31. That's not modernization, Emily. That's systematic age discrimination. Emily's face hardened. You're undermining me because she's your mother. This is exactly why family businesses struggle. Emotional decisions override strategic ones. This isn't a family business, Jason replied. It's a publicly traded company with responsibilities to its shareholders, employees, and customers. And speaking of shareholders, he pulled another document from his briefcase. You seem to have forgotten something important. It was then I learned something that Emily had apparently overlooked or underestimated. After Thomas Warner took the company public years ago, he had offered early employees the opportunity to purchase founders' shares. My late husband and I had invested everything we could afford at the time. Additionally, Jason had been quietly investing in Horizon stock for years, believing in the company his mother had helped build. Between us, we held nearly 12% of the company, not controlling interest, but enough to have significant influence, especially when combined with Thomas Warner's 17% and the other founders' shares. I've already spoken with Thomas and the major shareholders, Jason continued. They're disturbed by the direction of the company under your leadership. Not just the age discrimination issue, which opens us to significant legal liability, but also the declining innovation metrics and customer satisfaction scores since you took over. As if summoned by his name, Thomas Warner appeared at the door looking deeply troubled. The board is assembling in the main conference room for an emergency session, Emily. Your presence is requested immediately. Emily's confident facade cracked. You can't do this. I'm the CEO. For now, Thomas replied gravely. But when a CEO loses the confidence of the board, their tenure tends to be brief. As Emily was led away to face the board, Jason turned to me. Mom, I'm so sorry. I had no idea this was happening. How could you have known? I replied. She was careful to keep you traveling and to present everything as standard business modernization. She told me your performance was slipping and that you were struggling with the new systems, Jason said, shaking his head. I should have questioned it more when the stories didn't match the mother I've known my entire life. The woman who taught herself database programming at 40 and ran marathons at 50. While we waited for the board's decision, Jason revealed more about what he had discovered. Several executive committee members had been documenting Emily's decisions, concerned about both the ethical and legal implications. They had reached out to Jason when they learned he was a significant shareholder. What's more, a financial analyst had flagged irregularities in how Emily was reporting performance, obscuring declining customer retention and inflating short-term gains by cutting essential operational investments. The emergency board meeting lasted 3 hours. When it ended, Thomas Warner himself delivered the news. Emily had been removed as CEO, effective immediately. Thomas would return as interim CEO while a proper search was conducted. Emily emerged from the boardroom, face flushed with anger. She spotted Jason and me in the hallway and marched over. You'll regret this, she hissed at Jason. I'm your wife. You chose me, not your mother's career. Jason looked at her sadly. This isn't about choosing sides, Emily. It's about integrity and respect. For the law, for the people who built this company, for basic human decency. I don't recognize the person I'm seeing right now. As the same security guard who had been escorting me out now waited to escort Emily from the building, the poetic justice wasn't lost on anyone present. The fallout was immediate and far-reaching. Thomas Warner called a company-wide meeting the next morning to announce the leadership change. Without going into damaging details, he made it clear that Horizon Technologies remained committed to valuing experience alongside innovation. We didn't become an industry leader by chasing fads, he told the assembled staff. We got here by blending the wisdom of experience with the energy of new perspectives. That balanced approach will continue. By the end of the week, all employees who had been terminated under Emily's discriminatory practices were offered reinstatement with back pay. Most accepted, though a few had already found new positions or decided to take early retirement. The board commissioned an independent investigation into all personnel decisions made during Emily's tenure. The resulting report led to new company-wide policies, explicitly protecting age diversity and outlawing the very tactics Emily had employed. Privately, Jason and I had several heart-to-heart conversations about what had happened. He revealed that his marriage to Emily had been struggling even before she took the CEO position. Her ambition had always been something he admired, but it had increasingly come at the expense of their relationship and his own values. I kept hoping the woman I fell in love with would re-emerge once she achieved her goals, he admitted. But the more success she had, the more cutthroat she became. When I confronted her about the lies she told me about you, she didn't even deny them. She justified them as necessary for her vision of the company. 2 weeks after the board meeting, Jason filed for separation. The divorce proceedings would prove challenging, but he was resolute that some breaches of trust couldn't be repaired. For my part, I initially hesitated to return to Horizon. The public humiliation had left scars, and I wondered if I could ever walk those hallways again without reliving that moment in the boardroom. Thomas personally asked me to reconsider. "We need you, Terri, not just for your operational expertise, but to help heal the culture she damaged. After that, if you want to retire, no one would question you've earned it." I agreed to return for 6 months to help with the transition. During that time, I developed a structured mentorship program that deliberately paired experienced staff with new employees, creating channels for knowledge transfer that benefited both generations. The program became so successful that industry publications wrote about it, and other companies began adopting our model. When I did finally retire, it was entirely on my terms. The board threw a genuine celebration of my 33 years of service, and Thomas Warner presented me with a Lifetime Achievement Award created in my name, to be given annually to employees who exemplified both innovation and institutional wisdom. Jason and I rebuilt our relationship stronger than before. After his divorce was finalized, he focused more on philanthropy, establishing a foundation that, among other causes, combats workplace discrimination and advocates for multi-generational workforces. We started a new tradition of monthly dinners, where we didn't discuss business at all, just life memories and our hopes for the future. The Thanksgiving. After all this happened, it was just the two of us at my dining table. "Remember when Dad used to carve the turkey and always save the wishbone for you?" Jason asked, smiling at the memory. "I do," I replied. "He always said you make your own luck in life, but a little wishbone magic couldn't hurt." Looking back now, I realize that what Emily never understood was that experience isn't just about knowing how things were done in the past. True experience gives you perspective, the ability to see patterns, anticipate problems, and guide change without destroying what works. Age brings wisdom, not obsolescence. The true measure of leadership isn't how quickly you can replace the old with the new, but how effectively you can blend the best of both to create something stronger than either could be alone. The experience with Emily taught me valuable lessons that I carry with me today. First, document everything. The paper trail I maintained proved invaluable when the investigation began. Second, never confuse business with family. Mixing the two creates vulnerabilities that can be exploited. Third, and perhaps most importantly, your dignity is non-negotiable. Even when facing public humiliation, how you respond defines who you are. After retiring from Horizon, I found a new purpose consulting with companies on creating age-diverse workplaces. The irony isn't lost on me. Emily's attempt to push out outdated people led to my becoming an advocate for exactly the opposite approach. I've spoken at conferences, advised HR departments, and even testified before a congressional committee on age discrimination in the workplace. Thomas Warner retired again 6 months after the incident, confident that the company was back on solid ground. The new CEO they selected came from within, a 45-year-old woman who had been with Horizon for 15 years and embodied the balance of innovation and experience the company valued. Jason's divorce was finalized last year. The process was difficult, but he's emerged stronger and more aligned with his values. His foundation has already helped dozens of older workers fight discrimination cases, and he's become a respected voice in business ethics circles. As for Emily, I heard she eventually found a position with a startup on the West Coast. I genuinely hope she's learned from what happened and grown as a person. Holding on to anger would only allow her continued power over my peace of mind. The morning after my retirement party, I woke up with no alarm for the first time in decades. I made coffee, sat on my porch, and felt something unexpected. Not loss or emptiness, but profound gratitude. For 33 years at a company I loved, for a son who stood by me for the strength to face humiliation with dignity, and for the wisdom to know that our value doesn't diminish with age, it transforms. Have you ever faced age discrimination or stood up for someone who has? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences. Remember, sharing these stories helps others know they're not alone in their struggles. Thank you for listening, and remember, wisdom isn't outdated, it's invaluable.